Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
I believe that fixes the audio. Welcome back to the Maverick News Channel, everyone. Great to have everybody here as the world goes literally berserk. It's a powder keg. I'm not exaggerating. Epstein files beginning to be released, supposedly in compliance with the law, but not, according to some, and pretty clear that it's not full compliance. Airstrikes in Syria, Venezuela escorting oil tankers to get oil to China as the U.S. continues to ramp up and escalate things off the coast of Venezuela. And Russian border guards saunter into Estonia, taunting NATO again. Oh yeah, it's just another day in the neighborhood. And we have a special Maverick Midnight Matinee lined up tonight. And it's not what anybody recommended. It's, and I'll explain why later, but it will make you think. So stay with me and we'll unpack it all on the other side of this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Brightleaf Innovations is excited to offer our newest investment opportunity, the Turn Easy Bed Storage Solution.
Turns with a touch, spins all the way around. Every little thing you need is easy to be found. No more clutter, no more mess on the floor. Just spin it, reach it, you don't search anymore. Turn Easy Bed, spin your world. Treasures to protect, built-in power when you need to recharge. Smart design that makes your bedroom feel large. Turn Easy Bed, spin your world around. Storage made simple, the best you found. Shelves your way, keep the mess away. Charge it, store it, developed by Brightleaf Innovations, proudly Canadian and patent pending in North America. Turn Easy Bed transforms how you live.
To learn more about this innovative new product idea, an exciting investment opportunity, call 519-784-0222 or visit brightleafinnovations.com.
And we're back and ready to start with today's top news stories. And the top story of all the top news stories is the Epstein story, of course. So, yeah, U.S. Department of Justice has begun releasing a large collection of documents and materials related to investigations into the late financier and convicted sex offender, Jeffrey Epstein. The release comes in compliance with the Epstein Files Transparency Act, signed into law last month, which required the public disclosure of unclassified records by today's deadline. Among the materials made public is what appears to be the earliest known federal complaint regarding Epstein's involvement in child sexual exploitation, a 1996 report to the FBI's Miami office accusing him of participation in child pornography activities. The complaint against Maria Farmer alleged that Epstein stole photographs and negatives of her younger sisters, then aged 12 and 16, which he had taken for artistic purposes. The complaint further stated that Epstein requested she photograph young girls at swimming pools, threatened to burn her house down if she disclosed the matter. Farmer has described feeling vindicated by the release of this document. The disclosed files include thousands of photographs, some heavily redacted to obscure faces and bodies with notations indicating certain images were withheld as child sexual abuse material. Photos from Epstein's 2003 birthday party and searches of his New York City residence in 2019 are also included, along with previously released court documents from civil and criminal cases involving Epstein and his associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche stated that several 100,000 documents are being released today, with additional materials expected over the coming weeks on a rolling basis to allow for review and protection of victim identities. Now, some people are saying that this is not a compliance with the law, and they're stalling, hiding, engaging in something of a cover-up here. Blanche emphasized that protecting victims remains a priority, noting the department has enlisted additional attorneys to ensure proper redactions, and there are lots of those. Some Democratic lawmakers have expressed concern over the partial release, arguing for full compliance with the law's deadline. Epstein, who faced federal sex trafficking charges involving underage victims, died by suicide in a New York jail in 2019 while awaiting trial. And of course, that has resulted in many different theories, and maybe conspiracy theories, or maybe truth, who knows, about what the real circumstances surrounding his death were. He had previously served a 13-month sentence following a 2008 plea deal in Florida. And the fallout from this is substantial. It is bad for Donald Trump because even in the most recent release of photos, it doesn't appear there are any photos of new photos of Donald Trump, but there is a treasure trove of sorts. Treasure, I don't know if that's the right word, but many, many, many photos of many high-profile individuals. And I'm going to get into a slightly different context on this tonight than I think you're hearing in most other places from most other live streamers, media outlets. I have a bit of a different take on this tonight, and that's actually going to lead into tonight's Maverick Midnight Matinee special presentation. I had a movie picked out, and then just near the end of the day, I changed my mind because of the Epstein scandal. So tonight's Christmas movie is kind of loosely related to that. It's something that I think should give us all pause and think about how people are struggling and how, in some ways, we really are very, very lucky and fortunate, even in the face of hardship and a world that is literally going insane. Now, that being said, I do want to begin our analysis with a little bit of assistance from other live streamers tonight and podcasters. And that's why I'm going to throw this over right now to a Substack live stream that is now in archive from the Decline and Fall podcast. I don't really normally look at these guys, don't watch them. I'm not even sure if I'm in alignment with them politically myself, but it doesn't matter. This will help illustrate the point, because what we are looking at here with this most recent, this new release of Epstein information, Epstein files, Epstein photos, is a reflection. It's a way for us to kind of, it's a statement of sorts on the state of our society today, in particular American society, and it begins with a look at Epstein's elite, referenced here in the Decline and Fall podcast.
And kindness and generosity to all. We are being perhaps overly generous with you this week in not only have we brought you an amazing interview with Tim Norman regarding the Skripal case, not only have we given you our Christmas special, which, by the way, you should all go away and watch before coming back and enjoying this video. We are back with you with an additional video today detailing the case of Noam Chomsky, licensed to dissent, but only to a certain amount. And this is, of course, a reference to a certain Mr. Chomsky who has been in the news of late with regards to his apparently rather close friendship with not just convicted pedophile, Mossad asset, arms dealer, general scumbag of the decade, Jeffrey Epstein, but also a certain Mr. Stephen Bannon, of whom more later, a certain Woody Allen, a certain Ehud Barak, and various others that were photographed at parties over at Jeffrey's place. And now we're going to be discussing all that in the context of Chomsky's career, because away from the salacious tabloid angle, which, you know, we're not above occasionally here on Decline and Fall. See our comment on Keir Starmer's Ukrainian male model scandal for further details. But we are more than prepared to dive into the murky depths of the intellectual swamp that is known as Western academia, in which we find there be monsters, of course. And joining me, as always, from a undisclosed location in the once and future socialist Yugoslavia, it's Kit Klamberg. Kit, but surely Chomsky's a nice guy and he just wants to engage.
Well, I mean, number one, I think that like our viewers should never underrate our shamelessness in willing to go to kind of tabloid nadirs in attacking our targets. But in all seriousness, that no, like Noam Chomsky, he's been ripe for a decline and falling for a very long time. We've had a lot of people write in saying, when are you going to go after this bastard? The time seems right now with all of these very revealing pictures of Chomsky grinning and smiling as he embraces Jeffrey Epstein, knowing Epstein was years earlier busted for child trafficking and pedophilia and sexual abuse. So yeah, it seems like a kind of opportune juncture to have a pop at Noam Chomsky. Now, I was discussing this with Alex in the run up to the show, but I think it's as an important preface to everything that we're saying. I have seen like quite a few videos on YouTube, and I've read a few articles by people who are on the kind of dissident anti-mainstream contingent, suggesting that Chomsky is controlled opposition, or that that he's on the kind of CIA payroll, that he's like Operation Mockingbird, that he's like captured. What if, in the spirit of the Twilight Zone, Noam Chomsky isn't these things, but just has shit opinions, and which perfectly suit the powers that be? And now, my dear friend Alex has on screen now Noam Chomsky's personal investment portfolio, which notes that he is an angel investor, which is to say that he is, an initial investor in companies, including Centrica, which is, or Centrical, sorry, which is an AI performance management tool and is used to optimize the performance of employees in the workplace. He also has a stock portfolio which is rife with like kind of tech, blue chips, energy companies, and defense firms. And he was busted for this a few years ago, and his only response was, "Oh well, investing in a capitalist economy presents dilemmas," which is to say that he's full of shit. From top to bottom, he's full of shit. There are indications that Centrical has links with In-Q-Tel, the CIA's venture capital wing. I've not seen anything, like truly bombshell and smoking gun to suggest this is true. But he is the absolutely ideal dissident because he goes very far in his criticism of US foreign policy, and to an extent he criticizes the FBI and the CIA and other forms of domestic and foreign repression, but he has very sharp limits, interestingly. And this is funny because in his much vaunted interview with Andrew Marr on the BBC, where he tells Andrew Marr, well, if you believe something different, you wouldn't be sitting where you're sitting. If Chomsky believed something different, he wouldn't be sitting where he's sitting and have all of this mainstream acclaim and platform to speak of. The two things that jump out most to me about Chomsky, before we get into the specifics of particularly his criticism of the Soviet Union. Number one, he is very dismissive of quote unquote 9/11 conspiracy theories, the idea that that anything other than the official narrative, which is the narrative is based on torture, which the Senate has concluded it was completely fraudulent. So yeah, he's like an anti 9/11 conspiracy theorist. He's also very, very, very anti any notion that John F. Kennedy was killed as a result of a wider conspiracy that anyone other than Lee Harvey Oswald with a rifle that couldn't shoot took out the president. And one of the key arguments he makes is there was no change in US foreign policy after JFK died, which is a complete lie, and is an easily demonstrable one. There are two excellent books. One is called...
Okay, we're just going to pause it there. They're going on about a lot of different things and getting off track from the Epstein stuff, but it all ties together. And the reason I let that run is because Noam Chomsky, not sort of a household name for the average, say, working class person. It's not somebody that is not a name that comes up over the kitchen table at dinner with most middle class American or Canadian families, but it is a name that is prominent in academic circles. He's an important academic, intellectual, a thinker. He has major influence over, the way people in political circles think, political ideology, and there is some influence there too on the way that people approach foreign affairs. He's an academic and a prominent one at that, and he travels in elite circles. This is why tonight's headline or thumbnail for tonight's Maverick News broadcast is Epstein's elites. Look at the list of names. Look at the photos that have been released. Bannon, Woody Allen, celebrities, academics, Noam Chomsky, all people of consequence, people of power, people with money. There's just a different class of people out there. It's like a different world. And for a long time, maybe since the beginning of time, these people, these elites, they play by different rules. And in many cases, the rules they think don't apply to them, but it's catching up to them now. And that's why today at this news conference on pharmacare, drug prices, lowering drug prices, Donald Trump, at the end of it, uncharacteristically ran away. He didn't want to take questions. Here, just check this out. He delivers what's supposed to be a huge announcement and then says, no, I'm not going to take any questions.
Companies that are involved with healthcare costs, I would be willing to bet, I think, that they would reduce their prices very, very substantially. We could have fair healthcare in the country. Now, my initial thought, and this is what I want to do as of right now, this is the alternative, is that all of the billions and billions, ultimately trillions and trillions of dollars that's paid to these companies, we're going to pay directly to the people. But there's another way of doing it, and that's getting the insurance companies to ease up and to cut their pricing way, way down and stay part of the system. So I'm going to call a meeting. It could be in Florida this coming week, or it could be back in the White House the first week, not the second or third week. I'm going to call a meeting of the big insurance companies that have gotten so rich by receiving money and really much, far, far more money than they're entitled to. And I have a feeling maybe if they would act like these incredible, brilliant, responsible citizens behind me, people that love our country and they love the world. I mean, frankly, these are international companies for the most part. I'm going to call a meeting of the insurance companies. I'm going to see if they get their price down, to put it very bluntly. And I think that is a very big statement. And what happened here is the biggest statement of all, because nobody thought a thing like this was possible. And I think based on that, I won't even take questions today, because there's no way I can take questions that are anywhere comparable to what you just witnessed. You just witnessed drug prices that will go down at levels never thought even possible, Marty, right? Never thought even possible. And I think that the second biggest part of this meeting is going to be the fact that I'm going to call in the insurance companies that are making so much money and they have to make less, a lot less. And maybe we can have reasonable health care without having to cut them out and let it all go awry. So we're going to be calling a meeting. It'll be either in Florida or it'll be here the first week. And I'd prefer not talking and asking questions, only for the reason that this is such a big announcement, meaning what these people have said and what the other four companies are going to say, which is exactly the same thing. That I really, and what they're doing today is.
So it's such a big announcement. He doesn't want to take questions.
Monumental. And I want to stand it on that. And I'll see you later if you'd like. But I don't want to be asking questions having to do with anything else. I do want you to remember what I said about the 4.5%. We took 100% of the new workers was in the private sector. And we've cut tremendous numbers of government jobs. And that's why, if you look at our numbers, they're so good. Also, more than, I don't know if you've read this, came out a week ago, more than 50% of our trade deficit was cut. We cut it more than 50% in a period of a few months. Nobody thought any of these things were possible. Thank you very much, everybody.
Your insurance idea? Thank you about your insurance idea, Mr. President.
Joe Biden used to exit like that. He did. He would just kind of hobble away, you know. Do you remember? Yeah, that's exactly what that reminded me of. So he's obviously avoiding questions on the Epstein stuff, because that's what came out today, was all of these documents and more to come, I guess, or so we're told. Although we were supposed to get them today. We got a lot, but we didn't get all of them. And we got the photos mostly yesterday. And what are we seeing? You know, you're not seeing in these photos and in these documents. There are nuggets in there that give you indications, inklings of what was kind of going on, and nothing to really hardline incriminate anybody that I've seen thus far. But you can see that there, in some of the stuff released, you can see that it appears they were, involved in trafficking of young women. And who's involved? It's very, very, very rich people, powerful people. They were running a sex club of some kind on that island, on Epstein Island, taking people there on the Lolita Express. And it was for the rich and famous. Lifestyles of the rich and famous, Epstein's elite. And now even people like Noam Chomsky, an academic, being pulled into the middle of the controversy, and now being, held to task on this. One moment here, which is why I queue up now another audiovisual assistant in Times Radio with Professor Scott Lucas. Is this Scott Lucas? No, that's not the Lucas clip. Let me get you the Lucas clip. Here we go. This is Professor Scott Lucas commenting on this. And I find Scott Lucas to be very insightful. And even on this, after I was thinking about it in these terms, I came across this afternoon, and he really has, I think, a proper perspective on this. Well, he directly references Noam Chomsky
last week, and then we've seen some photos released on Thursday. So, Scott, your reaction to seeing the latest photos, what was the worst of it?
I mean, I think this was the third photo drop that the Democrats in the House Oversight Committee have done as we move up towards this deadline today to actually see the criminal case files of Jeffrey Epstein. The drop yesterday, I think we need to start with the fact Donald Trump is nowhere in the photo drop yesterday. He has been mentioned in previous drops and in the Epstein emails. We just simply wait to see what comes out in the full files. But even though Trump wasn't there, there's some interesting context that comes out of the photos. Multiple photos of Epstein, of course, in his residences, in the apartment, and then of people who are around Epstein or who basically drop in, whether it's for business, whether it's socially. And it's a range of names. And you have to say this goes back to how well-connected Epstein was, how he liked to collect people around him as he tried to network. So Bill Gates is there with an unidentified woman whose face is redacted, so she can't be named. And it's like, okay, we know that Bill Gates' marriage broke in part because of that connection with Epstein. What does that add? There's no context. None of these photos have any context around them, so you just simply have what you have there. Noam Chomsky, who, full disclosure, used to be a major influence on both my academic work and then on my political work, until I sort of got a bit disillusioned with him. Noam Chomsky is there, even though he is like this figure on the left who is always critical of American corporate power, is critical of American foreign policy. And here he is basically alongside Epstein, and in addition to emails that establish their correspondence. And then you get David Brooks, who won't be as well known, I think, in the UK, but he's a very prominent New York Times columnist who only a few weeks ago was writing a column about Epstein and effectively was saying, look, really, is there that much here that we need to be discussing? Aren't we overdoing this? And lo and behold, David Brooks shows up at an event where Epstein is. The New York Times had to issue a clarification yesterday to say, well, he was just there covering this business event, and so on. But the point is, it was in, I think, 2011, which was after the first criminal cases against Epstein over the pedophilia, which were in Florida. So, I think it's a wider story about American society and about American power that came out. That that won't satisfy those who want to get to closure on Trump, but in a wider sense, I think you and I have always emphasized this story of Epstein and his pedophilia has this troubling connection with how American power operates. And as you try to get justice and closure for the victims, we need identification not just of Trump if he is implicated. We need identification of anybody who was in a position of influence who abused that position, as well as abusing these girls.
And that's kind of the premise of where we're at, Scott, because if you and I discussed at great lengths what Thomas Massey, the Republican congressman, as we said, has emphasized is that he's seen victims' testimony, he's seen the allegations of those who they've named. And so his argument is that the DOJ must release these files to name high-profile people that these victims have said abuse them, and that, the rich don't get away with this, the powerful don't get away with this. So that's the whole point of why House Oversight Democrats are drip-feeding these photos. They're trying to keep the headlines in the public eye so that we don't keep the pressure off those that might be named, off the Department of Justice, off the Trump administration, because they're just in power right now. So you mentioned these high profile people that were named in the latest drop. So yes, Bill Gates, Noam Chomsky, Woody Allen again, Steve Bannon again, they're all pictured. Just to emphasize, there is no criminal wrongdoing pictured in these latest batch of photos, but at the very least, it kind of puts them in a bad light, Scott.
Yeah, it does. And I want to add one dimension that I think I found most troubling, which may not grab that many headlines because there's no famous person specifically named here. There is passport information, which is, and it's heavily redacted for obvious reasons, but these passports appear to be of at least young women, because the one case I looked at yesterday was an 18-year-old who moved from Russia into the Schengen area and then to the U.S. And so these young women, maybe girls, were being moved, and then there's a screen grab of a text exchange, which
I'm going to read it out. Scott, I'm going to interrupt you. Read it out and get your reaction.
Go ahead and read that out for us.
Yeah, so this is the WhatsApp exchange. We don't know who really it's from and who to, but it says, I don't know, try to send someone else. I have a friend Scout. She sent me some girls today, but asks $1,000 per girl. I will send you girls now. Maybe someone will be good for Jay. And then it says name, redacted, 18-year-old, redacted, height, redacted, measurements, redacted, weight, redacted, departure city, Russia.
And that is one of the breadcrumbs that appears to lead to what might be evidence, maybe proof of actual trafficking, human trafficking of young women, maybe very, very young women. It's hard to know exactly where this is going. That's why we need more of the files released, but we're not getting all of that. But what we are seeing here is exactly what I've just been sort of previewing or alluding to, and that is this is the lifestyles of the rich and famous, and this was being done on an island where I think there was a false sense of security being promised, and to these elite rich and famous people. Here's Noam Chomsky. Look at, like, this is a guy who on the left, sort of a champion of the people, a champion of the left with Jeffrey Epstein on, this private jet. And look, you just look at the seats, sitting in the lap of luxury, leather luxury seats on a private jet. It's intoxicating. And even on the left, I see people get into politics or academia, fighting for the little guy, fighting for the working class. And Hang on, I've just got some video playing in my headphones. But once you're in power, you once they are in power, you see the descent into decadence. Even with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, just noticed yesterday, she's walking and being asked a question on the fly from a reporter of some kind, and she's I don't remember what the subject matter was. It doesn't really matter, but she's very well dressed, well heeled, clearly not shopping at the thrift store. And as she's laughing and answering the question, it doesn't matter what she's saying. But what I did take note of was she's getting into a a higher end SUV with a driver to drive her around. She's got bucks. Well, she says that she's there as a champion of the people. Same thing with Bernie Sanders. Same with all of these politicians. They I guess to a degree it's necessary, because even if you are a champion of the people, if you're a socialist, if you're even a communist on the left, you need to be able to run alongside the rich and the famous. You need an equalizer there so that you can to get into the same restaurants, the same clubs, the same events, so that you can be in the same arena to play the game, to play the sport. But with that comes a lot of temptation and inequality, even for those who sit there and say that they are fighting for equality, and they become part of the system. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, they say. I see just power and the enticement of money, the offer of money, the lure, the trap, the party. And that's what I'm seeing on that jet. I I certainly do not come from an elite family. I'm not complaining. I was pretty darn lucky, a lot luckier than most. But I have had opportunity, and this is one of the reasons why I've been so fortunate. I have had opportunity to just be among very, very, very rich people at times. Case in point, auto shows, car shows. You go to these Concours d'Elegance classic car shows. You're walking the field among all the cars, and there are a lot of just middle class people there as observers, spectators. But the people who own the vehicles, very well off at the higher end events, right? These cars, some of them worth literally millions of dollars for a single car. Some of them worth more money than some people will make in a lifetime. Some of them not. And even within those circles, the circles of the wealthy, there's a pecking order. And you become aware of it over time. The kind of car that you drive says a lot about you, and it dictates who you're allowed to mingle with, who you get to hang out with, your status. And it's not just the cars, it's all the trappings. It's not enough to just have a Rolex. You have to have the right Rolex, because you're judged. There's a lot of judgment there, a ton of it. Even if you just go to a new car event, and as a journalist, I became aware of the snobbery that is deeply embedded even among the elite, and the way that the very wealthy kind of look down their noses at the unwashed masses like me. You go to a car show, like a new car event, and I hate to say it, but maybe I shouldn't talk like this, but there's a difference between, say, the Ferrari display and even the Lamborghini display or the Porsche display. I always found that over at Ferrari, good luck finding anybody who will talk to you because, like, to me, because I'm just kind of like a middle class nobody peasant, right? They don't have the time of day for me. Over at Lamborghini, though, very, very friendly. A different class of rich people, different kind of rich people. And I think that comes from the roots of the company. For instance, because the founder of Lamborghini wanted to teach Ferrari a lesson, so he started his own company, and they've always been rivals. There's a pecking order, but how does this relate to the Epstein thing? It's because it's become absurd. And if you're among the richest of the rich of the rich of the rich of the rich, you get to go to Epstein Island. You get to go to be, to the big party where you to the sex club where you're on an island and so away from scrutiny and even accountability. Even now, you get to be the playboy, as Susie Wiles put it. That's the excuse for Donald Trump. The grab him by the you-know-what president. And even I dismissed that at the time. I was like, well, they're just trying to get him. Look at what Trump has to put up with. Look at the attacks. It's just not fair. It can't be true. See, you buy into that for a while and you dismiss it. You dismiss the allegations as just being a political attack, a hit job. But it just goes on and on and on. And then you start to see the evidence, like the actual evidence, the photos. It's just too much. He's like, I didn't like Epstein. I kicked him out of my club, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, well, what about all these photos? What about all these associations? You were buddies for a long time. Why are you writing a letter signed with artwork, hand-drawn naughty bits as a birthday greeting? Why is all this out there? Because he was buddies, because he was being a playboy, and it was a different time. And, it was the era of, I think it was Playboy at its height. And I think Hugh Hefner was, a facilitator of that kind of behavior, but I think in a more just adult way. I don't think Hugh Hefner ever engaged in anything illegal like this stuff. He just had a particular point of view on a lifestyle for adults. And that you can tolerate. You can put up with that. You can understand it. You can even embrace it if you want to, because you're free to do that in a free society in the United States. And I don't really care. If you're an adult and you want to do whatever you want to go to the Playboy Mansion, and what happens in the grotto, as they said, stays in the grotto. Fine. Do what you want. But over on Epstein Island, that was a different deal. Because you're dealing with, well, we know what was going on. It's pretty apparent. But, it was like Playboy, the Playboy Mansion on an island where, where there were even fewer rules, and where maybe illegal stuff was going on. Clearly there was, because people went to jail as a result of it. But Hugh Hefner, it was just different. It was a different, it was a commercial venture as much as it was a lifestyle. He was commercializing sex in a very public way. And in so doing, even though there were, allegations and, lawsuits and things leveled against him too over time, what he was doing was not what was going on with Epstein. That's not what was going on there. And I think back, to those eras. I think back to like the Reagan era as well. And then you had the morality squad at the time trying to hold people accountable just for not embracing traditional Christian values and, more liberal sexual. What's the right word? A more liberal approach to sex, sex positive, I think is what they say, right? But it was a different time, and there was a lot more sexism, and yet also liberation. Women, the advancements in birth control gave women actually more power, more empowerment, more agency when it came to controlling their own sexuality. And this is, I think, the fallout from some of that too, because we're navigating the social impact of all of that, because it's changed the nature of relationships between men and women, the way people view marriage, how long you're going to wait before you get married. Well, it's changed the dating ritual, even within Christian communities. It's changed everything. You look at not just, say, Hugh Hefner, but I remember even Bob Guccione. He was the publisher of Omni magazine and Penthouse magazine, which is most relevant here. He had some other magazines out too. But it was Penthouse that was the big one. And I never looked up the documentary, but there's one out there called Filthy Dirty. I've never seen it, but that chronicles, I guess, his time in the spotlight as a publisher and pornographer, if you want to call him that, at the time. And it was like, that was a harder version of Playboy, right? And he produced that feature film that crossed the line, blurred the line between mainstream cinema, Hollywood films, and adult pornography with the Caligula film, where he brought in big name actors like Malcolm McDowell, who later said, I think he said he regretted doing the film, but there were hardcore sex scenes in that film. And in the 80s, I believe, which was again the Reagan era. And then there were lawsuits that came out of all of that. Well, where am I going with this? It's just that things have evolved over time. And I'm looking here and looking there because I'm just trying to gather my thoughts and tie all this together and explain where I'm going with all of this. It's because when you're at that level, when you have that kind of money, birds of a feather flock together. The rich and the famous, they hang out together. They want to be part of that club. Even if you become a celebrity in Hollywood, you have to go to the right parties. You got to do the right drugs. You have to mingle and engage in all the right kinds of sin. If you really want to be in, you got to go to those P. Diddy parties, I guess, and you have to bring extra baby oil. And you got to get engaged in the whole Holly weird thing in order to be part of the club and get that next role. You got to network, and that's where you do it. That's how you do it. And you become part of that club, and you become part of that club or that club. And what was going on Epstein Island? I mean, that was the elite of the elite of the elite of the elite. And you can spin up the theories or the conspiracy theories or whatever about Epstein being an agent of whomever, Mossad, pick your government. Maybe so, maybe not. The impact, though, very apparent here. It's having a serious impact on the Trump administration right now, which is exactly the opposite of what I think Trump was thinking was actually going to happen, because it was the MAGA side that played up this whole Epstein thing for a long time. This is one of the core issues that the MAGA base has embraced from the very beginning. Pedophilia, and because this is supposed to be a party of traditional values, largely. And so this is unpalatable. This is doing serious damage to Trump, even in the absence of photographs or other evidence, directly incriminating him in any serious way, but just the association between him and Epstein. This is doing serious damage. People are excusing the grab him by the pee thing, right? People dismissed the whole PP tape Russia hoax thing, but this is sticking. because there are photos. There's a paper trail and there's a breadcrumb trail, and we're just beginning to see more of it. It's very damaging and worrisome. Because how deep does this go? You're seeing the elite of the elite, serious names. This is destabilizing, not just for the Trump administration, but maybe for our whole society. It goes that deep, right into the royal family. So that affects the UK, it affects Canada, certainly, and indirectly the United States, Western society, Western world, for sure. And it highlights what I've been saying here from the beginning, too. It's a different world for these people. Sex, drugs, rock and roll. And no accountability. Laws don't apply. No cops there. They've got their own security force. They're on an island. No cops going to come around. Nobody going to bother you. Do what you want. If it feels good, do it. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. When on Epstein Island, do as Jeffrey Epstein says. It's okay. Not so much anymore. Because they are going to be held accountable, maybe. In a way they are right now. Maybe not fully. But there's a lot of scrutiny here. And the victims, the women, they're talking. And there's money involved, too. So there's corruption on all sides as a result of this. And then now you're going to get into he said, she said, who's after bucks. This is going to get even messier over time. And for me, and Scott Lucas was, touching on this, it's a highlight. It casts light on the state of our society today. It certainly does. It shows how deep the division has become between the haves and the have-nots. Or as Pierre Poilievre would say, the have-nots and the have-yachts. And they literally do have big yachts and private jets and private parties and a lot of power. And the disparity, the inequality has reached incredible heights, literally. Jeff Bezos has his own giant flying space dildo and gives rides to celebrities up into the stratosphere and beyond, into the final frontier. Katy Perry, William Shatner, literally. Captain Kirk lifted into space, really taken into outer space by the guy from Amazon. And we're funding it every day when we order a tube of toothpaste on Amazon, chipping away at the retail landscape, making it impossible for the little guy to compete. Because Jeff Bezos has this very elaborate delivery network that he has set up, and he has an advantage that nobody else can touch. He can deliver right to your door. I don't even know how they do it. They can deliver a $2 item to your front door and somehow still make a profit. And I don't know how they pay for the gas to do it, let alone pay the guy driving the van. But he's doing it and making so much money that he can fly around in a giant space dildo. While people in other parts of the world, millions of them, are literally starving to death. Now, I've never been much of a socialist. I really am a free market guy, and I still am. And the reason I still am is because I see that the reason for this deep, deep, deep division, not just financially, but socially, ethically, morally, the reason for the huge disconnect at unprecedented levels, the reason for it is not because of capitalism, as is commonly blamed. It's the opposite of that. It's because the whole system is, as Donald Trump puts it, it's rigged. It's rigged in favor of the elite. It's rigged in favor of the oligarchs. It's rigged in favor of these guys who control these huge corporations and government. And they're in bed together in this economically fascistic corporatocracy / now technocracy. They control it all. They can manipulate the markets. And so even if you have, say, in many respects, we do a free stock market. When I say free, I mean prices go up and down based on supply and demand for various stocks or cryptocurrencies, even whatever you choose, however you want to look at it. Prices go up and down. But when you have as much money as Elon Musk and as much power and as much influence, and you control social media through your social media platform, which you buy on Tuesday so you can control the world on Wednesday and the way people think, you can manipulate the market just by saying something. I'm going to buy X cryptocurrency tomorrow, and the price goes through the freaking roof. You just say it. If I say I'm going to buy Bitcoin tomorrow, nobody gives a damn. Elon Musk says he's going to buy Bitcoin, and the price goes higher than Jeff Bezos's flying space dildo. Because what he says vibrates with the people. And everyone else, especially those who invest. They listen and watch. And if he sells, price goes down. Floods the market because he's got so much money. Donald Trump, same thing. Donald Trump meme coin, making himself rich with it. This is why they have a different, they play by a different game. And us peasants, as just human beings, we are too easily impressed by wealth. I've seen it time and time and time again. People without money want to get close to people who have money because they feel like the money is going to rub off on them somehow. So they think if they can just get close to that rich guy, just hang out with him, somehow that's going to rub off on me. And they're impressed by it. And you think back to even how Donald Trump got elected. It was partly because people were like, I like Donald Trump. He's a really rich guy. You know, some people thought at the time, literally, that he was like the richest guy in America. So they thought, well, if I vote for Donald Trump and we get the rich guy in the office and he's promising to make us all rich, I'm gonna be rich too. I'm gonna make a lot of money. I'll be better off if the rich guy's in there. Well, he sits there and says that he's fighting for the little guy. Is he? And he stands there today at that news conference about health insurance, pharmaceuticals. He's got these people from the healthcare industry standing behind him, these corporate elites. And he's saying what great Americans they are, how patriotic they are. What great Americans. Great people. He's fighting for you. Well, he's in the Oval Office. That wasn't the Oval Office, right? For his news conference at the White House, anyway. He's fighting for you. He's fighting for me. These people behind me, they're going to have to make a lot less money. Yeah, right. Oh, and that makes me think about all you 51st staters out there on the Canadian side, all you Kanakistanians who want to be Americanians. Yeah, because of healthcare. The Canadian healthcare system sucks. It's awful. Look, we need American health. Were you listening to anything the guy said tonight about healthcare? Have you paid any attention to what the state of healthcare is down there? He's telling you it sucks for regular, ordinary people. You know, if you have health insurance and you pay for private health insurance, you know, you can be okay if you get really sick. But God help you if you don't have it. You're screwed at the end of your life because you probably can't afford any health care. And if you do, you're ruined financially if you go into the hospital. I have firsthand experience with that, actually. So I can tell you what they do when you go into emergency and you're in trouble and you're in a U.S. state. They try to get you to sign even before the insurance company approves the treatment, because if they can get you to sign, as they tried with me, to sign before the insurance company approves the treatment, the insurance company doesn't have to pay. Mr. Walker, you can just sign here, and then we can get you in right away. You're in pain, and you're like, no. I'm like, no, I'm not signing, not until the insurance company calls back and says it's okay, and they give you the A-OK. Because if I had signed, I would have been on the hook for the whole bill. That was a long time ago. I was in a lot of trouble. I had needed emergency surgery down in Texas. I know of what I speak. And you want to join the U.S. because Canada sucks, right? So much better down there. Because Donald Trump's fighting for us. Well, he flies around on Air Force One. And now, well, what's that? What is the jet that was donated to him with all the gold? And then he's got his own private jet too, which he'll go back to. I assume if he ever leaves office, if he leaves willingly, they may have to drag him out kicking and screaming like those memes that we've seen in the past where, they had to pull him out after he lost the last election. Oh, man. I was largely very sympathetic toward Mr. Trump for a long time, but not so much these days because I'm doing my job and I'm trying to hold him accountable along with all the other politicians too. The elite. Because that ain't us. And I hate to use that cliche, they've got a club and we ain't in it, but they literally did on Epstein Island. They had a club there and we weren't in it. Thank God for that. Because I think all of them there, they lost a piece of themselves, a big piece of themselves, one way or another, even just by hanging out together. Because I know, they all knew what was going on. And they didn't care. So even if they didn't engage in the illicit activity, they tolerated it. And in that way, because they were people in positions of power and people of real consequence, socially, economically, morally, ethically, they're leaders. They're our leaders. They're supposed to be leading us, leading by example. They lost themselves and they lost us. They betrayed us. They betrayed their positions of power and trust because they owed us more. You just demand more of people in a position of public trust like that. But they took advantage of it. It was corrupting. Corrupting. Too much temptation. Lead us not into temptation. For that is where this leads. Temptation. Oops.
They both look clean, but the guest list redacted if you know what I mean. We can't release the names to protect the victims. And also Donald Trump. Coincidence? Just dumb luck. Right? Another sealed file. That crocodile smile. We did our best, says the DOJ, while the truth just fades away. Another news spin. No one will win except the rich guys with gold ID cards and closets full of secrets behind steel bars. Just a little glitch. A billionaire's privilege. That's the sound of the case. Closed.
When the world is going to hell. Oh, what's going on with Ukraine? Russia. Oh my God. It's awful. It just goes on and on and on. Here, just take a look. Is this President Trump said he was going to end this war in, 24 hours or less, right? You remember? The president of peace. Here's peace. This is in Odessa.
Vay burası. Alalım. Özümün gülleler diye uçur değer burada desin lan. Haloğlu lele geldi Sibir'e. Atışmaya gelmiş öyle. Sen o gün o da ne de. Bize de bir iki tane karşı konuda zaten verin. Ne ayıp diyor ha. Ya çok lan susala. Adam tek başına atışmaz ala. Ne olur bala. Orada neye vururlar? Dibine bile giribler.
Drones. What a mess. What a damn mess. And the rhetoric continues on both sides. The BS rhetoric, because it's all posturing. Putin saying, the ball's in the West's court. We've agreed to a lot of Donald Trump's terms, apparently. I think they're just reshaping their narrative a little bit. And then, that kind of language is now emerging on social media and through news conferences. And during Putin's year-end address, we're seeing Russian border guards ignoring the border with Estonia and just sauntering into NATO territory. 3 Russian border guards, this in Euronews, briefly entered Estonian territory yesterday. The foreign ministry in Tallinn said in a statement today, CCTV footage taken on Wednesday showed 3 people crossing a breakwater in the Narva River, which also functions as a part of the border between the 2 countries. The incident is said to have occurred around 10 a.m. when the 3 border guards crossed the breakwater near the village of Vasknarva on foot after arriving in the area by hovercraft. Here you see today, this is from Estonian MFA. Today, the Estonian police and border guard detected an illegal crossing of a temporary control line between Estonia and Russia on the Narva River breakwater by 3 border guards of the Russian Federation. The Estonian border guard patrols responded to the border incident. They're testing. NATO and all these NATO countries bordering Russia, pushing to see how far they can go before they get a response, see what kind of response they do get. Here, I've got video. I've got that CCTV video, security footage. Let me, this kind of went haywire here. Hang on, I got to get my tabs back in order here. Everything kind of, the screen in front of me just went nuts. Kind of like the world. There we go. We're getting her back into shape now. There. Okay. Now let me get the right the right video up. Where did it go? Did we lose it? Yeah. I lost the tab. I'll put it over here. Now I've got it back. Sorry about that. Sorry for the delay, but here's the footage that I've been trying to show you of these Russians crossing over into sovereign Estonian territory. Keep in mind, they're just walking over the border into another country, not checking in, no passport, right? It's like, let's just go to Estonia today. Okay, we don't have to check in with anybody, right? Yeah, that's right. We just do what we want. Cool. Vladimir said we could. Oh, all right. So if you look, there they are. There they are right there on the edge of the river. 3 guys hanging out, seeing if any NATO jets come to blow them up, I guess, or whatever they're thinking they're going to do. What are they doing there? Why would they do that? And now it's making international headlines. Yeah, my perspective on a lot of this stuff has really changed a lot over the last few years during this Ukrainian conflict. As more information becomes available and you really see the behavior on both sides, and you begin to understand things more clearly, see what's really going on. And even there, they've got a club. A lot of this is about money. It's about oligarchs, Ukrainian, Russian, American, European, people with investments in both countries, Russia and Ukraine, and these other countries as well, these other NATO countries. It's about who gets to control the resources, the companies there. One side wins, they take over factories, they take things, they just take stuff, and then they divvy it up among themselves. Make no mistake, this is largely about greed. That's not the only element here, but that's a large part of it. And then there are the little people like us who are just trying to live, who want their own country, who are suffering, being asked to sacrifice and in some cases even die. And they're willing to do it because they love their country and they want their freedom and they want their sovereignty and they want self-determination and they believe in a future where they can make things better for their children and their culture, to preserve what they are, the fiber of who they are, what they are. I get it. More now than I ever did before, simply because, I have to admit, because I see the challenges and the existential threats even leveled at our own country here in Canada. And that makes me appreciate more than ever what is going on in these other countries where smaller, less powerful countries are struggling to survive in the face of this onslaught, this political attack worldwide. Which is designed to bring in a new world order that people who are opposed to the new world order never really saw coming because they were told that it was kind of coming from the other side. That's the old world order. The new world order is upon us, and the people who are opposed to the new world order are fighting for the new world order. And that's how sophisticated the whole damn thing has become. When I say sophisticated, I'm talking about the information warfare, the psychological warfare, the manipulation. Talking about how the people, the rich people, but how they're manipulating us, how, they want freedom of speech because it's not about freedom of speech. They want freedom of access to your brain. That's what it's really about. And so while I'm all about free speech, I'm also saying that, these rich people, these famous people, these powerful people, they're bitching and moaning and screaming and pissing when anybody's trying to control how much can be said or how, how information is disseminated by other rich and powerful people, because they all want to control your brain. Beware of those calling for free speech these days, because it may not actually be about free speech. I think it's largely about just freedom of access, freedom of distribution for propaganda, psyops, psychological warfare, messaging designed to manipulate advertising, freedom of advertising. Think of it that way. To shape your perspective, to as Noam Chomsky this is the phrase from him. I say it here a lot, so he's been an influence on me as well. Manufacturing consent. That's what governments do. And that's why foreign governments are against censorship in other countries, because they want to unleash their propaganda machine using the power of social media and maybe even psychedelic drugs as a supplement, and messaging, sophisticated psychological messaging, in order to get what they want. Scares the hell out of me, man. Because I'm seeing this shit screw people up. It's literally driving a lot of people crazy because they don't understand what's going on. How could you possibly know? You only know what you're being told, and we're only seeing what we see through these screens. And the vast majority of people, the vast majority of people, myself included, only really get access to the information through a computer screen or a television screen. That's our reality. And in this age of artificial intelligence and information warfare, we're being manipulated. They can show us anything they want, make us believe anything they want. Do you think this is a good idea? These strikes in Syria that we're seeing tonight in retaliation for that ambush? You decide, I guess, based on whatever it is that you're seeing on the screen.
That America has struck Islamic State targets in Syria. Hegseth calling it a declaration of vengeance after 2 U.S. troops and a translator were killed in that country this past weekend. A senior U.S. official telling Jen Griffin the strike was massive and took out more than 50 targets. Coming up next, the massive...
Well, there you have a world superpower seeking vengeance. What could go wrong? Vengeance. There's a difference, between justice and vengeance. I wonder if Pete Hegseth is wise enough to know the difference.
Someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching. The world is watching. On TV.
The entire world is watching.
On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching. Maverick News isn't just a news outlet, it's a community of truth seekers. Your donation at freedomreporters.com fuels our mission to report the stories that mainstream media won't touch. Thank you, Maverick family.
So, a lot of people, Vladimir Putin, giving year-end news conferences, making year-end speeches. Trump just delivered his, where he kind of shouted at the world and America, mixed up some numbers, made some stuff up, tried to pat himself on the back. We don't even need to get into it. Well, there's a lot of time to reflect now as we get near the end of the year. Andrew Coyne. You can hate me all you want, just for run. I know some people hate me just because I'm going to run this. I think he's saying here that Pierre Poilievre, conservative leader in Canada, is the biggest loser of 2025. But it's true because he blew the election. Mark Carney took it from him, outmaneuvered him. The Liberals, they did, like it or not. And he continues to be outmaneuvered. He had a huge lead. It was his election to lose. It was the Conservatives' election to lose. And I wouldn't put all the blame myself on Pierre Poilievre at all. I think he just got bad advice. It was bad strategy. And the Conservative campaign team didn't know how to respond to Carney really stealing their thunder by stealing a lot of their ideas. But it was Poilievre who said, go ahead, take my ideas. You should take my ideas. I dare you. And then they did. I'll take the win because gas prices are lower. But Pierre Poilievre has to live now with this. Andrew Coyne.
But think of what happened there. He'd never been elected to anything. He'd never run for anything.
I know.
And in the space of a few weeks, wins the Liberal leadership by a thumping margin, more than anybody expected, assumes the powers of the prime minister, all the awesome responsibilities that, well, again, with no experience in office of any kind other than being the governor of the Bank of Canada, but no right. Political experience. And then finally wins the election. I just don't think you can overstate what extraordinary thing. Now, you also want to do the loser at the same time? Pierre Poilievre also has to wear that loss as much as Mark Carney can be credited for that victory. He was the face of the party. Some would say he was too much the face of the party, given his personal unpopularity numbers. The strategy they pursued, which seemed to miss the whole Trump wave, he's got to bear responsibility for that. Yes, he managed to pull them out with a 41% of the support, and they increased their seats, and they got a moral victory, et cetera. But moral victories are for losers. You know, he had a 25-point lead, and he threw it away.
Okay.
But think of what.
And that's how 2025 ends for Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives. Maybe 2026 will be a better year. We're not even into the new year yet. It's not even Christmas yet. But we will see. Other people, year end, not having a good year. This is a DC Police Chief Pam Smith going berserk during her resignation. And, you know, the world is going berserk. This is just one more example. Let me show you the clip. Like we're talking about Donald Trump yelling, this is yelling.
Never would I compromise my integrity. Never would I compromise 28 years in law enforcement for a few folk who couldn't stand to be held accountable. And if I had to do it all over again, I'd do it again. So I'm going to the Bible when I say this to my haters. F you. The same folks who said in that report that they changed their numbers, and I did not. The report is very clear. I did not direct anyone. You should investigate those folks. Never would I.
And that's the way it is out there tonight on this 19th day of December, 2025. Let me take a quick break. I'm going to check something else here before we move on to some of the other stuff that I've got lined up. There's something maybe new here. So give me one moment and I shall return.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
So, what do we have here? We have a new energy deal. You remember how Doug Ford was saying that he might just flip a switch and turn the electricity off to, much of the eastern seaboard of the U.S., New York State, because of this trade war with Trump? Well, today, the tide has turned. And that's because the U.S. does want what we have, and we want what they have. So, news release, Ontario government, Ontario and New York sign agreement to build nuclear energy and grow economies. New collaboration will leverage Ontario's expertise to accelerate the development of advanced nuclear technologies and create good-paying jobs on both sides of the border. That's what happens when you collaborate. Out of Buffalo today, Ontario Premier Doug Ford and New York Governor Kathy Hochul signed an agreement to work together to advance the development of affordable, reliable, and clean nuclear power. This is a big deal. This is a lot of money. As part of this agreement, Ontario Power Generation and the New York Power Authority have signed a memorandum of understanding that will leverage Ontario's global nuclear leadership to advance the development and deployment of nuclear technologies, including large-scale reactors and small modular reactors. That's going to be the trend of the future, to meet the growing electricity demand and protect long-term energy security. Quote, from building the first small modular reactors in the G7 to building the first large-scale nuclear facilities in decades, Ontario is proud to lead the world in nuclear innovation, said Premier Ford. By working together with New York, we're creating good-paying jobs, growing our economies, and delivering clean, affordable power for families and businesses on both sides of the border for generations to come. Big money, energy, nuclear energy. It has to be, if we're going to fuel the future with energy, the only way to make enough electricity is with nuclear. It's the only way. Because the power of nuclear is immense. It's huge, to put it in Donald Trump terms. And so this is a huge deal. Here's a bit of a clip today, I think. I'm not sure what this clip is about. And I'm not sure it's complimentary, but this is related to that news conference. This one.
No, I have a question. No, respectfully, I drove 2 hours to be here. Premier, can you please answer my question?
And Governor,
Premier, respectfully, I came 3 hours from Toronto.
What about a surcharge?
Why can't you take another question?
To the U.S. Is that still in place?
Yeah, so nobody's taking questions today. Because if you say the wrong thing, you might get an extra 50% tariff slapped on you, I guess. So no questions taken from Doug Ford or or Kathy Hochul or anybody else. The word is mum out there. Here's Thomas Massey. Back to the Epstein files. Remember how I said some people are saying that the law is being broken because not all the files have been released. Well, I think you might find that this guy's in that camp.
Decades. That is wrong. Do not let the Senate muck this bill up. And if you're a party to that in the Senate, you are part of this cover-up that we are trying to expose. I am sorry if one of your billionaire donors is going to get embarrassed because he went to Rape Island. That is what they have coming. In fact, they need to be on the other side of bars, a lot of them. Some of them will be embarrassed, but some of them need to go to prison, and the survivors know that. So how will we know if this bill has been successful? We will know when there are men, rich men, in handcuffs being perp-walked to the jail. And until then, this is still a cover-up.
Now, that was not today. That was when the law was being voted on. And we still don't have all the files, even now. What's that tell you? What's that tell you? It ain't good. It's not good. We have one other thing to share with you tonight before we get into tonight's Maverick Midnight Matinee, and it's going to lead into tonight's Maverick Midnight Matinee. So don't go away because this is good. I think it's good. You're going to like it. It's going to make you think.
Brightleaf Innovations is excited to offer our newest investment opportunity, the Turn Easy Bed Storage Solution.
Turns with a touch, spins all the way around. Every little thing you need is easy to be found. No more clutter, no more mess on the floor. Just spin it, reach it, you don't search anymore. Turn Easy Bed, spin your world around. Storage made simple, the best you found. Shelves your way, keep the mess away. Charge it, store it, night or day. Custom shelves for your books or your tech. Cozy space for your treasures to protect. Built-in power when you need to recharge. Smart design that makes your bedroom feel large. Turn Easy Bed, spin your world around. Storage made simple, the best you found. Shelves your way, keep the mess away. Charge it, store it, night or day.
Designed and developed by Brightleaf Innovations. Proudly Canadian and patent pending in North America. Turn Easy Bed transforms how you live.
To learn more about this innovative new product idea and exciting investment opportunity, call 519-784-0222 or visit brightleafinnovations.com.
So, yeah, to close off tonight, money, power, fame, it doesn't lead to happiness necessarily. Although there's a saying out there. My brother was the first to share this one with me. It was from a story that he told about an old man on a train. And I don't remember the way the whole story went, but it was something like there was a young guy on a train. Or maybe I'm mixing the story up. I might be mixing in some of the story from Kenny Rogers, the Gambler. But anyway, it's a good story, so I'll tell it. You know, I think he's on a train. Anyway, an old guy talking to a young guy. The old man says, "You know, Sonny, there's only one thing money can't buy: poverty." But it's not really true. You can't always buy happiness. And they say ignorance is bliss. And I guess when you're a kid, you don't know the difference anyways. You can be dead dirt poor and not even know it. And so just be happy because things just are. They are what they are, and you don't judge things too much, and you're maybe not even aware, especially when you're really young. Which leads me into tonight's Christmas story. And it's inspired by Epstein Island and Jeffrey Epstein and all the stuff we've been listening to, because this is how the the other class of people live. This is where I come from. You know, just set it up a little bit more. My dad, he's in his 90s. So he's seen a lot. There's so much about him that I still don't even know. About how he grew up, where he lived, just stuff. But I know some of the stories because, of course, he's shared some. And one thing that I know about my dad is just how tough he is, and that he had to work hard and claw to get everything that he ever had. Nothing was ever handed to him. He never complains about anything. He's just not like me. He's just so positive about so many things, My dad went to school in a one-room schoolhouse. Can you believe that? And I hear people bitching and complaining about the state of the schools today and the healthcare and every other damn thing. My dad went to school in a one-room schoolhouse. It was that long ago. People take what we have today for granted. We all do. Me too. Totally different time, man. That's almost a century ago. And the country was built by people like my dad, just hardworking Canadians who got out there and just put their nose to the grindstone, just rolled up their sleeves and just did what had to be done. He worked in construction. He just did so many different jobs over the years. And I was the last born. And so I reaped the benefits, of the hard work more than my brothers, I think, just because there was more time that went by. And so there was more of an opportunity for my dad just to build things, and my mom too, who went to work. And so much change from the time he was born until now. I just think back, like, what was it like when he was a kid? One-room schoolhouse in Canada. No Ivy League education for my dad or my family. I got to go, I was extremely fortunate because I was able to go to college and university. Worked for it. Family worked for it. I worked for it. I worked. Went to school. Nothing was handed. Although, no question, our education system subsidized, socialistic. But it provided, right? And so even though I'm a free market guy, and I take offense to the way the system is rigged for the super elite today, it's because it's not a free market. And I know that from being involved in running my own businesses, where you do not, as a small business person in this country, have equal access to the market. You don't have equal access to suppliers. Not on the North American side. You don't. It's a club. I learned that the hard way too. Just even, just trying to run my little hobby shops. years ago. You cannot compete directly with Walmart as a small independent retailer because the system is rigged against you. You cannot compete against the big companies because they get corporate welfare. Loblaws gets $1 million grants from the government during the pandemic to upgrade their freezer systems in their stores in Canada. But if you're an independent grocer, you're not getting that. So it's just not fair. So you have to adjust. You have to realize what you're up against, learn how to cope. The haves and the have-nots, the have-nots and the have-yots. And who built the country? Regular, ordinary people. Like my dad, who went to school in a one-room schoolhouse. Worked in construction. He tells me the stories of working on the London Life building here in London. He helped build that building. He was there, one of the construction workers. And you talk about safety standards. There's a story out today out of Quebec about temporary foreign workers back in 2023 were hired to work on a construction project by a private landlord. And they didn't have any training, no safety equipment, no nothing. It was just awful. And they went in, didn't know what the hell they were doing. They didn't even have safety boots or hard hats. They started to remove a load-bearing wall in this multi-story building. And the floor above them collapsed because they started demolishing this load-bearing wall, and the rubble fell on top of three people, and one of them was killed. And then I hear people complaining about them taking jobs. But look at the price they paid. And what were they after? They were after the Canadian dream. Such as it is. One-room schoolhouse. My dad, Claude, worked in construction and then got, better jobs as he progressed. But you know what his education level is? Grade 6. And yet he's one of the smartest guys I know. One of the wisest. Except when he tells me how to drive. Don't tell me where to go. I have a story about that, but I'll share that for another night. But my mom taught me how to drive because my dad didn't want to do it. My mom taught me how to drive, but my dad, yeah. Which brings me to this. When I was a kid, I won't tell you, some of the names here may be changed to protect the guilty and the innocent. We used to go up to visit relatives some Christmases. And when I was really, really, really young, we went for a Christmas vacation to a relative's house. And this was, pretty far north. And, it was, again, a different time because the house, my relatives, they were living, they struggled too, right? Because my uncle was trying to, like my dad, just find his way and work hard to build a life for their family. And so we would go up there, and I'm just young, so I didn't know any different, but they lived in this house. And I remember that the house they lived in this very, very small place, small town, village, really, the house is really run down. Never occurred to me that it was run down, but I knew it was different than what we lived in the city, but it was pretty damn rough. But my uncle got a good job and built his own house, built a better house on the same property with his own bare hands. I remember going up there, work that was done there, and people chipped in to help build the house. I remember going up there when I was really young, my dad helping to build that house. But the old house, wow, was it rough. And that shows where, not just my family, but so many Canadian families, that's what we come from. Pioneers, log cabins, literally log cabins. The first settlers getting here, what was there? Just trees. You better build a house, build a cabin. And we've built mass. Look at what we've achieved. You think this tariff war is going to stop us? I don't think so. No, it's not. It's not stopping us at all. We're building nuclear reactors now. In that short period of time, from an era where before people could fly, to airplanes, to space travel, to giant flying dildos, to nuclear reactors, and my uncle and my relatives there living in that really, really rough house. When the new house was built, we went in as kids and we were playing in this place. It probably should have been condemned. I'm sure it wasn't safe because we would go upstairs in this house and there were holes in the floor and you could look down through the holes in the floor, in the rotted floor, probably because the roof was leaking. I'm not sure, but there were holes, no carpeting or anything, just wood. And you could see I would see kids downstairs, my other kids from the neighboring homes over there. We were all playing in this old rundown, really unsafe wreck of a house, which needed to be torn down at that point because they'd moved into the new house. So this became like a playhouse. Go play out in traffic or the condemned house. That's a great idea. Anyway, we're up there. Literally, you could have probably fallen through the floor. So you're looking down and you're shouting down to the kids downstairs because it's fun. Like, what do the rich people do to entertain themselves? Like, this was a riot. Okay. It was just so much fun running around in that old piece of shit house. Wow. It was so much fun. I wish I'd been into photography back then like I am now, because what great photos you could have taken in that old place. And I only remember bits and pieces of it because it was so long ago. But I don't know if you guys, if you have any similar experiences with your parents or grandparents. Man, we've come a long way, haven't we? As a society, as a country, as Canadians and Americans. The pioneering spirit, resilience, determination, persistence. Nothing going to stop us. My dad carries that with him even today in his hip operation, man. I can't believe what he's doing. He's like he's racing around up there with his on the wheeled walker as he's getting himself back into shape. And he almost ran me over with this. I'm like, oh my God, Dad, you got to dive out of the way. I took him to the doctor. This is how tough he is, right? And I'm like, okay, all right, we're here. We're at the doctor. I said, I hope he doesn't get mad at me if he finds that I'm telling you this stuff. We get to the doctor. I pull into this parking spot. I said, okay, now I'm getting out, and my mom insists on coming, so I've got to watch both of them. And I'm like, you stay right there. I'm going to get your walker out of the back, and then I'm going to come around, and you wait for me. I mean, he doesn't wait at all. I backed the truck in, the van, so he didn't have as far to walk on the ice and the snow the other day when we were going. And before I could even get out of the van, he was already out of the house and halfway across and ready to jump in the van before I could even get the door open for him. And then when we get to the doctor's office, it's the same thing. I don't even have time to get the walker out of the damn back, and he's out of the van. He's ready to walk into the bloody doctor's office. He just had his hip replaced. And then we're walking up, and this is how tough he is. This is this generation, right? Like these guys, they're just made of like nails. And we're walking toward the door, and like my mom, and he says, "Help your mother." "Don't help me. I don't need any help." And he's like walking, he's picking the walker up, and he's walking with the walker, taking like 4 and 5 steps slowly, but he's like doing it. He's not even using the damn thing. And then he puts it down, pretend he's using it. And then we get up to the door, and there's another old lady, and she's trying to get in this bloody thing, in the door, right? And he goes, "Hang on, I'll get the door for you." I'm like, why am I here? Why? And I know if they cut my hip out and replaced it with a cyborg hip, I'd be like, "Oh, don't you feel sorry for me?" Not my dad. Got to learn a lot from him. And he's just so happy. and you know, and really, you can say what you want about the healthcare system, but they couldn't have treated him better. As critical as I've been, you know, over the years, amazing, just amazing what they've done for him. So grateful. So is he. Thank you, Canada. Total bill. I think I spent $30 total on parking. Yeah. $30. I'm almost ashamed at this point for all the crap I've said about the healthcare system with that happening. It's not perfect, but man, that was pretty damn good. It is pretty good. So back to the Christmas with my relatives. This is going somewhere. You know, back then, I think we probably would classify as poor as dirt. But we scrounged and we made things better. I didn't, but my dad did, my uncles did, my family, my whole family. Never really went without, you know. Like I guess we did. I just maybe didn't notice so much, but things got better and better and better over time. And it was about dreaming big. It's always been about dreaming big. And my one cousin, and again, names may have been changed to protect the innocent and the guilty here. We'll call him Timmy. On that Christmas, when we went up, this is before they built the new house. We were in the old house. I think it was the last Christmas there. Man, Timmy dreamed big. And he was young too. Older than me, because my brothers were quite a bit older than me, and he was quite a bit older than me. I was really, really young, but I remember this. Even my dad doesn't remember this. I asked him about it. We were all hanging up our stockings on Christmas Eve. There are pictures here somewhere in the house from that Christmas. We're all hanging up our stockings. And we put them, you know, some of us put them by the tree. Some of us put them up by the stairwell going up to that upstairs part where later there were giant holes in the floor. Oh, I remember making swamp water in the kitchen that Christmas Eve too, where you take all the different kinds of pop and you mix it all together and you just make like goo or whatever it is. Orange pop, root beer, cola, you know, just mix it all together, swamp water. Anyway, that's beside the point. But we're hanging up these stockings. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm still alive after ingesting all of that sugar. But it was a sweet time. And Timmy, he dreamed big. So we all were hanging up our stockings. And then Timmy, he comes downstairs and he's got his stocking. But it's not like our stockings, because Timmy, he dreams big. So he brought down pantyhose. Pantyhose. And everyone's like, "What are you doing? Why are you hanging up?" Because they stretch. So you get more presents. Like, genius. So, because Santa Claus is coming and he'll have to go back and get more loot. And I never forgot that. And it just cracked me up. Everybody was laughing. It was so funny. And he did hang them up for Christmas. The pantyhose. Went up and raided my aunt's underwear drawer. Came down with pantyhose. And I'd never heard of that before. I'd never really, it was original to me, but I guess I don't think he's not the only one who's ever thought of it, but it was original at that point. Just pantyhose, genius. So tonight I bring you the newest song from this year's Maverick Christmas album for 2025, Timmy's Pantyhose. I wrote this one thinking about that. It just cracks me up, and I hope you appreciate this. And this will be a segue into tonight's Maverick Midnight Matinee movie, which is not a Christmas Carol. It is a documentary called Christmas in Appalachia, and it's about being dirt poor during Christmas. But we can all dream big, and when we dream big, we achieve big things. And so I don't know that it was so much about greed at the time. I think it was just about aspiring and hoping for better things. Timmy's Christmas Pantyhose.
Kids hung stockings by the chimney with care, dreaming Santa's boots might come stomping down the stairs. But Timmy's in his bedroom with a wild little grin, cooking up a Christmas plan he swears it's gonna win. House gets quiet, midnight darkness falls. Timmy tiptoes down, not a sound at all. Takes down his stocking with a sneaky little pose, hangs up Mama's extra large pantyhose. He's hanging pantyhose. He's hanging pantyhose. Swinging from the mantle in the firelight glow. Pantyhose, pantyhose, everybody knows. They stretch, they stretch, they stretch, they stretch. Timmy says if Santa fills these, I'll strike gold. That's why he hung his mama's pantyhose. Back in bed he's smiling, eyes lit like the moon, dreaming of the presents, a massive haul of loot. He pictures Santa grunting, hauling sack after sack, jamming those nylons till the seams start to crack. He's hanging pantyhose. He's hanging pantyhose. Two long legs swinging, ready to expand. Pantyhose, pantyhose, Timmy's master plan. They stretch, they stretch, they stretch, they stretch. Keep on packing, Santa overload that sleigh. Timmy's thinking Christmas might just go his way. Two long nylon tubes just begging to be filled. Moonlight on the tree. Timmy's dreams distill. He's hanging pantyhose. He's hanging pantyhose. Raised them high and mighty, but they stretch so low. Pantyhose, pantyhose, stretching as they go. They stretch, they sprout, they stretch, they stretch. Stretch, stretch, stretch.
Up on the rooftop, boots hit the shingles. Santa takes one look, chuckles low and giggles. Well, son, I reckon these things are getting stuffed with coal.
He's hanging pantyhose. He's hanging pantyhose. Swinging from the mantle, getting ready to explode. Pantyhose,
Guess those things are getting filled with coal. Yeah. So that gets us to tonight's Maverick Midnight Matinee feature. I'm going to save the big Christmas movie for maybe the day before Christmas or maybe Christmas Eve, whatever. We'll see. We'll have another Maverick Midnight Matinee before December 25th next week, and then we'll do it up that way, something a little more festive. But tonight I'm bringing you a documentary, an old CBS documentary from 1964-65. It's Charles Kuralt. It's called Christmas in Appalachia. And this shows, the perpetually poor in Appalachia. RFK Jr. even referenced, his concerns about people living in those areas. A lot of them, reliant on coal jobs, which Donald Trump even has referenced, and even just in the last few days talking about people getting jobs back in the coal industry. But man, this is, back when I was born, the time when I was born, and again, a different time. Really, really tough times. And it shows, the depths of the poverty and the way that people just found ways to survive in the face of adversity. So I thought I'd share that tonight. We're going to run this tonight because it contrasts everything we've been, talking about here. The elites, the people flying around on private jets to private islands to have private sex parties versus, and the people flying around to giant flying dildos with their celebrity friends versus the rest of us, basically, us peasants, the unwashed masses. And I'm not a communist and I'm not a socialist. The free market can free us all, and it has produced, a lot of prosperity, the free market elements of everything. But what we have and what we've had for a long time, it's not really free market at all. It's a corporatocracy. It's become more of a corporatocracy over time, so that the rich get richer and richer and richer. Government helps that along. They enrich themselves. And there's been so much prosperity that, there's been enough that it's lifted. The free market elements of it have lifted people out of poverty into middle class status, for sure. But there's a lot more we can do. Could do. It's not about just taking away to give to others. I think it's about giving access, fair access to markets, to let other people become entrepreneurial and invest and so on. But tonight, as we enter this final leg toward Christmas, I bring you this really, I think, important and historic documentary. If I can bring it up full screen here. There we go. Yeah. Christmas in Appalachia. Now, if you are watching on YouTube, you're going to have to flip over to Rumble or one of our other social media platforms, because we're going to dump off YouTube because they don't like it when we run these videos. I always get some sort of a strike or penalty against the channel if I do it, so we're not doing that. It just encourages you to move over to one of our other channels where we don't get hit with this stuff. So that being said, it'll be Christmas in Appalachia. And as I dump out of this, if I can get the system to work, here we go. I'll run the Maverick Midnight Matinee opener as I unplug from YouTube. Love you, YouTube. Love all you guys over on YouTube, but head on over to Rumble or Twitter, X. See you there. Here's Maverick Midnight Matinee.